Hey everyone, I'm Gary L. Gringo, and welcome to another edition of Colombianizado, my podcast that you can see on vozvoice.com and also through my YouTube channel, Gary L. Gringo. So today we're going to be doing our podcast in English. So we're going to switch it up a little bit. And today I have a very special guest. His name is Austin Hoover. He is an American like myself who is from Texas and is currently exporting coffee from Colombia through his business, which is called Café Colombian Dreams. So, Austin, how are you doing today?
And I'm doing great. Beautiful day. We've had a lot of rain here in this part of Colombia in recent days, but overall great. I'm not burning up in the sun like we are normally in this region. So it's an awesome day. It's a great way to start the day.
So, which part of Colombia are you in right now?
So if your visitors or your viewers know where Santiago de Cali, or what we just call Cali for short.
Yeah, just Cali, yeah, right.
I am south of Cali, about 30 to 45 minutes by car.
Okay, so Santander de Quilichao.
Quilichao.
Yeah.
And that sits in the north of the Department of Calca. The people here really consider themselves more caleños.
Yeah.
Más de Caucanos. But this region is very, very mixed, ethnically diverse. It's a very ethnically diverse part of Colombia.
And you got a beautiful view from what I'm seeing on the video right there. I think I see some platano plants there, right?
Yeah, there's platano, there's banano, there's papaya, there's zapallo. There's a lot of naturally occurring fruits out here. We have mandarino. There's a lot of things out here. And I'm situated right next to a ranch where the rancher here sells both dairy and meat cows.
Very nice. So just a little background information. Austin and I, we met just before or around the pandemic, I believe. It was your wife who reached out to me, and she's Colombian too. And she was telling me about her business called, or your business as well, Café Colombian Dreams. And at the time you were exporting coffee. I'm getting a little mixed up here. Some coffee from Quindío and specifically from Pijao at the time. And it turns out that you and I had both had already had, well, you were exporting the coffee, and it was a coffee that I had tried in Pijao, and I thought it was like one of the best coffees I had ever had, and so that's how we met. So every single American, of course, I've already told my story many times. So Austin, what is your story? How does an American end up in a country as Colombia?
Well, I think an American ends up here. Well, it could be varying reasons. I think, it could be business, international business. It could be because they speak Spanish, so they can move to a different country easily, or Spanish-speaking country, or family. But for me, it actually had a lot to do with the naturaleza. Forgive me, I'm going to end up speaking Spanglish because my mind is in Spanish.
That's fine. I completely understand. Even as I was talking to you, I was kind of thinking in Spanglish myself.
I don't want to confuse the audience. I mean, we have no problem doing some segments also in Spanish. But no, for me, it had a lot to do with the beauty of Colombia. Since I was a young kid, I was obsessed with going to the Amazon, obsessed with going to the Andes. I have a lot of interest in exploring cultures, learning languages, a lot of history, anthropology, paleontology. These are things that attracted me since I was a child to come to South America, and Colombia, obviously being the epicenter of wildlife in the world, was for me is just something I had to do, whether it was just as a traveler or actually how I am today, very blessed to be a part of Colombian society and actually be a legal resident of Colombia.
So you're a legal resident. I haven't even gotten there yet, and I kind of feel ashamed because I lived there for so long. So you're going to go for citizenship, you think?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's in the works. I had a little slip up with the visa with my status here. It's been fixed, but the result is the pandemia and the national paro affected a lot of foreigners who had residency here. So that got fixed, but I've got to wait about now an additional 2 years for my citizenship. But it's okay as long as I'm legally, I'm legal here in this country. I'm good to go back and forth just fine. Own a business, I pay pension. I pay into the system, and that's a whole nother topic. How an expat ends up and how they end up living in this country.
So Austin, why did you decide to go for coffee in Colombia?
Well, that's a really interesting story. I think one of the big challenges that expats have, especially going from an economy like the United States to an economy like Colombia, is how will you live in the country when the value of the currency is much less than where you were living? And especially if you have accounts, you have things you got to pay for, you have things that keep you attached to your home country.
Correct. Yeah.
One of the biggest surprises for me was the beauty of Colombia and how much coffee was here. And after trying specialty coffee, and to be honest, I had no idea what the differences was between specialty coffee and, my McDonald's coffee or my whatever. I really had no idea. I spent some time, a lot of time staying on fincas, farms, coffee farms, learning about the processes. And I've always been very intrigued with agriculture. I had a garden as a young man and loved that as well too. And so I got really into it. One of the situations when you're an expat, even if you're a legal resident, when you're battling with being able to pay and live in a country and still be able to pay your bills back in the States, is that sometimes you have to travel back and forth and work. And it's a lot of sacrifice doing that. So long story short, I'm in HEB. HEB is one of the largest chains of
the supermarkets. Yeah. I remember HEB there was a brief stint I had in Texas. I remember doing my little grocery shopping there. And that's huge if you're able to sell your coffee there.
Yeah. So I was there, but I was looking on the shelf. I was actually working. I had a part-time job overnight, just stocking, biding my time, trying to have a little extra money. And one of the things I noticed that, number one, there was not real Colombian coffee. It was not, it did not have a registration or an VIMA through the Colombian Coffee Federation. And I got to investigating and found out that none of these coffees were specialty coffees, and none of them were actually from Colombia, even though they said Colombian coffee.
Oh, really? I didn't know that part. That is very interesting.
Huge idea that I live in Colombia.
Right.
Why don't I invest in the education? I love agriculture. I love being a part of this society, and why don't I do that? Why don't I see what I can do with coffee? And that's kind of where the idea started. So I went back to Colombia and started speaking with providers. Mm-hmm. And from there, I started studying.
Because, one of the hardest things I have to admit, I'm currently living in Connecticut. I moved back from Colombia about 5 years ago. I definitely missed the coffee. Definitely. Now, at the time, before I left, I never even tried any specialty coffees like the one that you're selling right now. I just had the regular store brand coffee in Colombia, which is Águila Roja, Sello Rojo. Those are the two most popular brands. But even that, it's not as good as the specialty coffee. I will say that. But it is much better than the so-called Colombian coffees that I've bought in stores in the U.S. It just doesn't have the same flavor. It's a lot more bitter. All right, so one of your distributors, Café Florencia, which is there in Santander de Quilichao, I remember an Instagram post I was reading from them, and they're talking about a man who worked with them, and one of the things that he said that a good coffee does not need sugar, and the bad coffee doesn't deserve it.
That's actually pretty good. Yeah, because the bad coffee is why drink that? When you've had a coffee that's like wine grade, it's really hard to go back to commercialized coffee.
Oh, it is.
And I think many people don't associate coffee with having hundreds of different flavors and aromas and being actually scored and graded like wine with cupping, and they don't understand the process. And that's a whole nother topic. But yeah. That's definitely true. The commercialized coffee in Colombia Colombia is still better than the United States. At least it's guaranteed that it is from Colombia.
Yeah.
But the level of roasting is very, very high. And what that does is it covers up all the bad selected coffee that is sold commercially.
Right. So you're mentioning, so how is it that a store can say that they have Colombian coffee, but you were saying that it's not actually from Colombia? How does that work out, and how do they get away with that? Were you able to look into that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, what I can say is this. I can't say 100% that the coffee is not from Colombia, but the only way to verify the coffee is from Colombia is to see the registration in Vima where it's actually sent out from Colombia, or actually be certified with a Colombian Coffee Federation that you can see on the bag itself. Right. And that's the really only way to verify. There's a lot of wholesalers out of the state of the United States that buy pasilla. They buy the cheap, the commercial grade coffee, and it sits in warehouses for months until someone buys it at a super, super cheap economical price, where they make profit on the cents.
Right.
You're talking like 10 cents or 15 cents difference in markup. But you have companies out there that buy that, so, but that's really the only way you're going to verify it. So when you look at our coffee, when you look at the coffee bags, you're going to see a registration in Vima on the back.
Yeah.
And Vima is just simply, what that means in English is it's just registered out of Colombia. The business in Colombia pays for the Colombian Coffee Federation licensing to actually export. And that's the only way to guarantee that you're buying true Colombian coffee.
So what makes a specialty coffee? What's the difference between a specialty coffee and like just a regular coffee exactly?
Well, there's quite a few processes in coffee. If you've ever been to a coffee farm, it's something that's really interesting to learn about the amount of steps and processes. There's about 20 before you actually end up, at the barista where they actually prepare the coffee and you drink it. There's about 20 stages. Wow. So what separates quality coffee? It's really dependent on region, altitude, the health of the coffee plant, the selection of mature coffee cerezas, like the coffee cherries. Yeah. They have to be mature, and there's a certain grade of maturity that they need, that they have a range. Those coffee farmers have about 1 to 2 week window to pick the best selection of coffee. And everything in coffee is in Colombia, the coffee selection is done by hand, which makes a lot of intense labor. But anyway, so there's the selection. You have to eliminate all coffee that has defects. There's different processes for that. And then there's fermentation, whether it be aerobic or anaerobic fermentation. There's varying methods on that. The drying has to be right, so that there has to be the correct humidity in the drying of the coffee. And there's different methods for drying. And then you go to the coffee milling. And the coffee milling, what they do is they designate what's going to be Café Excelso, which is perfect size, without defects, a certain weight, in a laundry list of different things. Finally, you get to coffee roasting from green coffee. And the roasting needs to be predominantly somewhere in the range of a medium roasted coffee in order to show the best attributes of the coffee. And then you have someone who's trained as a coffee taster. And they go through a long process before they actually grade a coffee. So what is a specialty coffee? A coffee that meets the Specialty Coffee Association International standard of 80 points or higher. Yeah. And anything 85 plus or higher is considered excellent. 90 plus is considered extremely rare. We sell 85 plus coffees, and we sell green coffee that's 84 plus. Wow. All graded and certified.
Nice. So that's a pretty high scale there. I'm just ballparking this here. Would you be able to grade like we were mentioning before, the Colombian brands that, in my personal opinion, like the regular brand someone would buy in any store, like Águila Roja, Sello Rojo. Would you be able to scale that on a specialty coffee scale or not?
Yeah, it wouldn't even meet the minimum. I mean, it would. It's so far off. The difference is, like, if you were to take your commercialized coffee, and this is a thing that we've talked about doing, Gary.
Yeah,
I've talked about trying to get you some good coffees and then pairing them. Is to actually prepare the coffees in the same way, and there's a routine or a procedure for it, and we can explain that to the audience, and they can do that in their house.
Yeah,
but to actually do their own tasting in the house, you don't have to be an expert.
No,
but there is a procedure.
Not at all. Yeah,
and the differences are just outstanding. I mean, they're just ridiculous.
You know, I have to say, in my personal experience, in the times when I didn't have any Colombian coffee in the house, like Americans are used to the Keurig machines, anything that's just fast and convenient. Yeah. And, you know, I have to say, like, whenever I had to drink like a regular coffee that I bought in the supermarket here in the United States, I would have to drink, I mean, I'm probably like at least 3 cups per day. Like I'm a big coffee drinker. And the coffee's cheap, but at the same time, I'm also drinking more. Now, one of your coffees, any of your coffees that you sent me, and you have a ton of varieties, you know, I'm just being honest here. Like, I just have to drink just one. And I'm fine for like pretty much the entire day. So and plus it's also like an experience too. That's what I like most about the specialty coffees. You taste different flavors that you've never tasted before. The bitterness is like to a minimum. And I was never, ever a black coffee drinker in my life. I always had to put milk. I always had to put sugar. I had to put something in it. But like whenever I've had any of the specialty coffees that you have sent me, I just drink it plain black. So there's a huge difference.
Yes, there's a huge difference. You know, and like you said, you had a saying that you learned from someone before. Yeah. When you have a specialty coffee, if you add something to it, you're almost doing the coffee a disservice. Right. Because the amount of work, the amount of effort that goes into creating specialty coffee, and we can talk about the coffee economy as well too, and the amount of work that's involved in doing that. But it's almost a sin. In my eyes, it's almost a sin, you know, because the amount of effort, and for any coffee farmer that has a specialty coffee, they should be so proud, because it's super hard to create a specialty coffee.
Right.
But Colombia has lots of specialty coffees. Lots of specialty coffees. Like
none taste the same either. Yeah.
No. Every region, every farm, even a farm that has their vecinos, their neighbors.
Yeah.
And they may have the same species, 100 feet of different plants on the farm, and have wildly different flavors, because there's so many variances and differences in coffee.
And that's amazing too, because it kind of takes away the competition, I guess, because it's just, I remember going to Pijao, Quindío, and the heart of the coffee growing region, and they even explained to me, and you know this as well, it's a tiny town, but there's different elevations of these fincas, these farms. They have different crops growing around them. No coffee will taste the same in the same town. So it's almost like a community that kind of is built because, okay, we'll try the coffee here today. Then you can almost do like you know how they have wine tasting tours? You could almost do the same with specialty coffees, I feel.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's where the current market is going with specialty coffee. Yeah. Specialty coffees consist of about 3% of worldwide sales in coffee. 3%. That's it.
That's it.
But it is growing, and it is growing. It's very popular in Europe now. It's starting to catch fire in the United States. The important thing is that people learn to value specialty coffees, and we provide education for people to understand the differences. And we have to do coffee tastings. We have to get in front of people and let them try it for themselves. I can tell you, when I was doing farmers markets in Texas, and I plan on continuing when I'm back in the States, is that once they smell the coffee and as soon as they try it, they're sold. I mean, it's immediate.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. Yeah.
But they have to try it for themselves. I can talk about specialty coffee all I want, but if no one has any education on specialty coffee, they don't believe anything I'm saying until they try it.
Well, I'm your witness here, which is why I'm also interviewing you as well. So just being someone who lived in Colombia for so long, and I'm just an avid fan of coffee as well. And I also love what you're doing. So Café Colombian Dreams, you can find them on Instagram, Facebook, and your website is it? Can you tell your website for the audience, please?
Yeah, it's simple. It's cafecolombiandreams.com. Mm-hmm. We're in the middle of adding a lot of providers, so there's some construction on the site, but what's available on the site is ready to go. It's a very simple website. You can contact me directly. I really enjoy speaking with each person directly and explaining what's going on a little bit more. We have some specials going, some discounts and things going on, and that. Mm-hmm. So if you speak with me directly, it's important. There's so much that we can do by providing different varieties, different roasting methods, different processes, and actually roasting the coffee specifically for you as well too. So we can do that from here. We do bulk shipping, we do wholesale shipping, we do green coffee sales for roasteries, and we also sell it, private label. So I mean, there's anyone from in the coffee industry down to you and me, Gary, who just like to have a good bag of coffee. We can provide that service for you.
Yeah, and like I said, just tasting the specialty coffee is just definitely an experience. It's what I look forward most to the morning. Before I was just a Keurig guy, but now I've actually gotten into like the pour over method with the Chemex and making sure it's at the right temperature and everything. Because like I said, I feel like if I make this coffee bad, it is almost a sin in itself as well. So I want to make sure I got the right temperature. I'm doing it in the right way. It's just a way of just appreciating just what a high quality coffee can do. And it's amazing because most people don't even realize that these coffees don't even exist. Now, I wanted to talk about the Department of Calca. So Cauca, it's had a history of being one of the more dangerous areas of Colombia during the armed conflict. There's still some zona rojas, as they say there, some red zones, as they like to call it. But it's so a lot of Colombians, if you mention like I'm going to Cauca, they would say like, oh, you better be careful if you go there. But what I find it amazing is that how is coffee playing a part in just transforming the Department of Calca?
That's a really good question, and there's a lot to speak upon. Every department is very different. The people are very different from region to region. But specifically to coffee. So I'm actually just finished my diploma with Technicafe. Technicafe is the leader probably worldwide in the advancement of coffee. They work directly with the University of Cauca, centered in Popayan. They also work with extended groups that do education for farmers in remote areas of Colombia, people that don't have access to good education. Mm-hmm. They're also connected with the Colombian Coffee Federation, the National School of Coffee in Colombia, which works with organizations like the Specialty Coffee Association. It's actually centered in the United States, but they are worldwide, and controlling coffee quality. And other organizations that they're connected to. They're connected in Spain with Super Cafe and a bunch of stuff. But what they're doing is they're advancing education in coffee. They're helping coffee farmers go from just selling their coffee, directly to the federation, to developing specialty coffees that are not that have different varieties of coffees on the farm, micro lots, which have become super popular. Mm-hmm. This is really helping the quality. In fact, Cauca, I could be wrong, don't quote me on this. I believe last year they finished best coffee region in all of Colombia.
I would believe it if it's true. Just by all the varieties out there. Like how many varieties have you found in one of the farms, for example?
Well, what's cool about what I do with the alliance that we've done is we're not only connected to the group that I'm working with, but they also work with a bunch of other farmers all over the region, including other departments like Huila, Tolima, and I have providers out of Quindío. The idea is that we have specialty coffees from all over. But on just one farm, there are 13 varieties of coffee.
13 varieties. Wow, that's amazing.
And they're specialty coffees. They're not, they're specialty Arabica coffee.
Yeah.
There are others that are blended coffees, which we call like the ones that have been, worked on and tweaked in order to increase volume of harvest, and also maintain quality and also protect from diseases, like varieties like Castillo, Cine Cafe, Colombian Ramo, which is pretty popular. But then you start moving it towards like varieties like bourbon, which
bourbon's amazing.
Bourbon Rojo, Bourbon Amarillo, Bourbon Rosado, which is super popular in Colombia, one of the best varieties. You have geisha, you have different types of geisha, you've got whoosh whoosh, you've got pacamara, and the list goes on and on. And, these coffees do exist. We can get you those. They may be a little bit more limited because they're harder to come by, but we can provide those for people. Yeah,
the geisha and the bourbon coffees, as of right now, I think those are my top two favorite. So it's amazing, and the bourbon is smooth. That's what I notice about that one. Like you drink it, it's like as smooth as like drinking a tea, I guess. But it's
got some good body.
Yeah, yeah.
And the geisha is very tea-like, kind of like a jasmine tea or hibiscus tea. And it sounds weird to say that, but that's the reality.
You got to try it. If we can talk about it, but if you don't try it, you'll know what we mean exactly. So, let's talk about a little bit about your love for Colombia. I mean, it's just you wouldn't go through all of this if you didn't love the country.
It's a lot of sacrifice. A lot of friends and family will doubt you. They'll be like, what are you doing? You had a great job in the United States. I worked for the Air Force.
Oh, wow.
As a contractor. I'm in the medical field. But my biggest love is traveling and wildlife. And looking back, maybe I should have been a biologist, something a little bit different, but I've been fortunate. So that's really attracted me here. And then I fell in love with the culture as well. I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about what is the typical Colombian like. Are they Pablo Escobar or are they actually, extremely nice? Well, they're actually extremely nice. They'll invite you to their house.
Yeah, and they'll open the door for you. They'll serve you food. Right. And I mean, that's just like, that's the nicest part. They're just very hospitable people.
And very humble.
Very humble. Yes. And I think I was just, you and I are Americans. We're used to the 9-to-5 rush and just how stressed out we all can be. The rat race, as I guess we like to call it. But when we go to Colombia, we're, in my experience, I'm sure you felt the same. It's just like, wow, I can't believe a place like this exists. Where just, people that are just so friendly, so humble. They open the doors for you. They'll say hi to you in the streets. And you got the amazing views. I'm just jealous just looking at the view that you have right now. But I can just imagine like the fresh air you get just when you're out in the countryside, the green mountains, and when you try a coffee that you're just like, wow, I never thought like something like this even existed. It just opens like new doors for you into just this amazing life. And, I understand the thing too, when you're talking about, your family calls you crazy. I'm still called crazy. I'm still called crazy. Like, what are you doing? But it's, the fact that we have another American and I've met other foreigners who have also fallen in love with the country. It's not a coincidence. Colombia just has just something that just entices, that attracts foreigners, not only to just visit, but to also to stay and make a living there.
Yeah, and the challenge is fear. Are you willing to put yourself in a place that you haven't been before?
All right, Austin Hoover. Anything else you would like to tell your audience, the audience, about your coffee or Colombia or just life in general down in Colombia?
Well, I would have to say that I hope that, number one, we continue to do some podcasts. We'll do it in English. We'll do it in Spanish.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
There's a lot of different topics to talk about. But as far as the coffee goes, if you have any questions or concerns, or if you want to try some for yourself, or you want to learn more about specialty coffees, contact me. Let me know. I have plenty of references. I have plenty of people that you can speak with directly. That's kind of one of the good things of what we're doing is we're providing access to buyers to speak directly with the coffee producers. And that's something that is new, and it's something that is only available in the specialty coffee market. And there is such, like we talked about, there's such a variety that, you can name the flavors that you like, and I can find that for you, and we can get it done for you. So just remember that there's really we're absolutely unlimited as far as what we can do for you. Reach out to me. Let's just go from there.
All right. That sounds great to me. And I, as someone who has tried the coffee that Austin is exporting, I encourage everyone to try it themselves. You're never going to go back to the supermarket coffee, I can tell you that much. And you can find Austin throughout social media, on Facebook, Instagram, Café Colombian Dreams, and you can order directly from his website at cafecolombiandreams.com. And you'll also ship directly from Colombia. Is that correct?
That's right. So the only challenge is making sure that we have enough coffee to meet the cost. So what I did, because now I'm in Colombia, is I'm able to lower the cost of the coffee by half. The cost for 500 grams is a little over £1. So you're able to get specialty coffees at a much better price than you would if you were to buy them, the same level of coffee in the United States. But there is some international shipping. And so what we do is we make sure we have enough, and then you actually end up saving a lot of money. And we use DHL services, and we will get those copies directly to your house.
All right. So, I can tell you, I can't wait to order my next batch. So I'll probably be a mix of bourbon geisha, I'm guessing myself. So you can do that.
Hard to beat those.
Oh, it's very hard to beat it. That's one of my favorites right now. So, again, you can contact Austin directly. You're not going to regret getting that coffee. It also comes fresh. We're talking about like coffee that can be like not even a week old. Am I right in that?
That's correct. And coffee has a certain shelf life, whether it be green coffee or roasted coffee. So important, if you're going to have the best experience, if you're going to invest in a specialty coffee, that you get the coffee fresh and ready to go.
Fresh from the finca to your doorstep. You can't get any better than that. All right, Austin, thank you very much for joining us. Looking forward to doing some more podcasts with you. Also looking forward to seeing you down there sometime. We'll do a whole bunch of videos and podcasts down there in Colombia.
Gary, congratulations on the new podcast. I look forward to being a part of it. It's going to go great. I think people are really anticipating, really waiting for something like this. So it's awesome that we can have these conversations for people to really show the true Colombia.
Yeah, and you can't get any better than that. Colombia is just a wonderful country. And so thank you, everyone, for joining us on this another podcast of Colombianizado, which would mean Colombianized in Spanish. You can find it at vozvoice.com, V-O-Z, voice, all one word.com. You can also find it on my YouTube and my Facebook pages at Gary L. Gringo. So thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you again on our next podcast. Hasta luego. Ciao.